in the case where you are totally cold, what do you do?
Yeah, yeah, and so I'm actually working through this right now, and I have worked through it in prior companies if I've been working on a startup or whatever else, and I am working on a startup, I guess, of sorts. So I'm building my own podcast, and it will be attached to kind of a consulting services company in the artificial intelligence space. And so as part of that, like you guys did when you're setting up your podcast, I'm reaching out to a lot of people to say, hey, I want to do this thing to help educate business leaders on AI and how it can serve their business or their organization or nonprofit or whatever. And so what I'm doing is meeting all of these folks in these virtual conferences, right? We're in pandemic quarantine. So all these conferences have gone virtual, and it's been really crazy and super effective actually, in that we have these conferences, we end up doing virtual happy hours with breakout rooms, and there are all these little ways that you can meet inside the conference, including like shared Slack spaces and things like that. And it's a salesperson's dream, because you're able to then see all of these people's profiles. You can look, and they're all presenting, right? A lot of these folks are presenting in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
So I would watch, if I saw somebody that was interesting, I would look at their talk, I would listen to their talk, take some notes, send them a LinkedIn, I've got a sales navigator plan. So through there, you can send me emails and things, send them a note. But the precursor to that would be, ideally, I would just send a note through the virtual conference system. Hey, I just saw your session. It was fantastic. I have some questions. By the way, I'm also doing this podcast. I would love to have you come and talk about what you presented on. Are you interested? And because you're kind of in the flow of that virtual conference, for me, it's been huge. The response has been huge, and everybody's been very positive. I would say I've got a 95% response rate. And even if it's, hey, I'm too busy, I can't do it, maybe you should talk to this person on my team,
Hmm.
right? Great referrals and handoffs internally,
Yeah.
which has been great. And then I follow up with LinkedIn, kind of email and stuff like that. And I've had literally a 95% positive response.
Awesome. So the kind of precursor is still to know about them. And one of the ways to do
Yeah,
that is to be kind of viewing their content, or if they're, yes, presenting at a conference or whatever, be there, listen to that. And that's your kind of key, your trigger, your like personalization content,
right.
because it still allows you, well, it's still cold technically, but
It is cold.
you're a little bit closer than kind of coming from nowhere.
Yeah, I'm not coming in saying I don't know anything about you and I'm sending you this random message. Clearly they're receiving this message that says, you listen to my content, you cared about my content, you care about my story. So it's all
Hmm.
about, they're perceiving, rightly so, you care about them, you care about the message they're trying to get out, which instinctively makes humans more responsive.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. So that's kind of how you tackle it, whether it is truly cold or whether you have some kind of in because of, you've worked with a client, someone else at your company's worked with a client, a past employee's worked with a client.
Yeah.
So let's chat again about the kind of call that you have with them, the first call that you have with this decision maker. You mentioned within the first, 5 seconds, show them that you've done your research and that you're not just here to ask them a bunch of questions. This is going to be really a valuable conversation for them. Tell me how you structure that call when you actually, dial and that person picks up. How do you get that information out there quickly enough that they don't just want to hang up on you?
Yeah, that is a really cool question. So I had an experience with a county, a very large county in the US. And I had a really good relationship, which that's a whole other separate and great story. But I had a really great relationship with the CTO, and there were a couple of good lessons in this. Called him up. We were trying to work on multiple projects. We were also trying to salvage a couple of projects that had kind of gone a little bit sideways.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of there was a lot of tension. They were working on a lot of very big, very critical projects, and we were one of their vendors. And we were trying to sort of elevate ourselves from, just another vendor to a strategic partner. And we've been plainly told, you're not a strategic partner. You act like a vendor. You don't have a seat at the strategic partner table.
Sure.
So we were working really hard to earn that trust back. So I had this good relationship with the CTO. New CIO was coming in, sorry, CISO, Chief Information Security Officer. And I said, okay, here's where we are. I would always update the CTO. Here's where we are. Here's what your team has done. Here's what we've done. This is the progress we're making. And I know that you want to do project A, then C, let's say C, then B, then A. I really strongly think that that's incorrect. I think you're not serving your organization. You're not going to achieve your goals. I really think you should flip the sequence of this. So, I just outright disagreed with his perspective. And he said, okay, I'm listening. Tell me more. And I said, okay, let me make my case. Made the case to him, and he said, I understand the logic behind that case. I think that's really great. What do you need from me? And I said, well, you've got a new CISO coming in. I would really like to meet her and also get her up to speed on the project, which goes back to shared situational awareness, right? We've got a new executive coming in, cold, doesn't know the history, doesn't know all the projects in flight. I said, could you connect us? And I would like to get her up to speed, take it off his plate, and build that relationship and go forward. Absolutely. Yep, I'll make that happen, which he did. Got on the call, which I think is kind of the call you're asking about. We've never met. I don't know this person's history. She doesn't know our history. And I just said, it's really great to meet you. This is my role. I'm a specialist. I'm working on this project, which is tied to these many, many projects, all of which are in your domain. They're all really around security. What do you know and what do you not know? Because we've got a lot of history and a lot of kind of back information here that you may not be privy to. I'd like to share it with you. Can I give you kind of a review of everything that's happened in the last year and kind of all the major things, milestones that have happened? She said, I would love that. That would be so great, because I'm kind of coming in and I'm supposed to get up to 100 miles an hour and I just don't have the context. So walk through everything, including their own projects and their own 5-year plan. And then I said, so that's what was handed to us, and these are our marching orders, but we really do report up to you at this point now that you've got this position. Do you agree with this, or do you have other priorities? So I think at that point, I was providing enough background and information to help her understand, yes, I knew the customer, our team knew the customer, we knew their priorities, but then I didn't want to assume that those were her priorities, because they could have been different, and they were in some ways. So then we had a great conversation, and yeah, that's kind of how that went.